Welcome to Cravings Control for Fat Loss. I'm your host, Laura Cavallo, former sugar binger, overeater, and yo-yo dieter turned fat loss and cravings coach for hundreds of busy women. Here at Cravings Control for Fat Loss, I'll be sharing mindset, movement, and metabolism strategies for those who are ready to ditch the fat diet cycle and slim down without counting calories, tracking points, or giving up any of the foods they love. Get ready to embrace progress over perfection, grace over guilt, and bring curiosity and learning to the inevitable ups and downs of your life. Expect a decrease in your cravings while seeing and feeling an improvement in how you look, how you feel, and your overall quality of life. I am so excited you're here, boo. Let's get started. Hey there, boo. I'm excited to share that registration is open for the free 7-day Cravings Cleanup Challenge, which starts on Sunday, September 10th. The Cravings Cleanup Challenge is a free 7-day challenge to help you reduce mindless snacking, afternoon cravings, and nighttime overeating by up to 50% using one simple habit. If you're someone who has struggled with cravings and snacking and overeating, and you've tried things like willpower, self-control, not keeping foods in the house, or just restricting, and these things have not worked, then this program is specifically for you. This is your chance for a final solution to your cravings while working with me, a cravings and fat loss coach that has helped hundreds of women get cravings and overeating under control. There will be no gimmicks, no fads, and no stress. Just real simple strategies and an empathetic approach to help you. This will be the 5th or maybe 6th round of the Cravings Cleanup Challenge. Nearly 80 women have gone through this free program, and I want to invite you to join them on the road to lasting cravings control. Are you ready to tackle afternoon cravings, mindless snacking, and nighttime hunger once and for all? Follow the link below to learn more and enroll completely for free. Welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura Cavallo, your cravings coach. And today I'm really excited about sharing one simple strategy, one simple tip, one simple practice that you can start doing literally at your very next meal. And I was inspired to talk about this because I was listening to a podcast. It's called Zoe Science and Nutrition podcast. And I learned some really interesting facts about what we're going to be talking about today, which is eating more slowly, slowing down the rate of eating. And I talk about this really pretty often with my clients about being aware of eating a little bit more slowly, allowing your body to feel that hunger and giving it time to feel that hunger. But I just learned so many interesting facts and data that I wanted to bring that information to you in an effort to encourage you to slow your rate of eating so that you can avoid overeating, right? Avoid the excess calories that might come as a result of that. Have a healthier relationship with food, feel better in your body as a result of not eating until you're overly full. And all of these things together can ultimately help you maintain your weight, maybe even lose weight. So as I get started here, I want to start with just sharing some facts from that Science and Nutrition podcast. And then I'm going to share how you can eat a bit slower, which can, again, in turn, help you maintain your weight, maybe even lose weight, but overall reduce that load on your digestive system, help you feel more full a little bit faster, meaning that you're actually going to be able to tune into your hunger and cravings cues and not overeat. And so I think that this is really important practice for all of us to start practicing a little bit more often. So we know that eating fast just isn't good for us, right? Eating slowly can actually increase the response of those appetite regulating hormones, things like leptin and insulin, and we can just allow them to work their magic on their own time, right? Versus like stuffing food in our mouth, eating really fast, and not even giving our body that opportunity to respond to what we're eating and letting our hormones work. I also learned that it can take up to 5 minutes or even up to 20 minutes to get full. Now, I have always said that it takes up to 20 minutes, but I learned something new that for some it could take 5 minutes, for some it could take 10 minutes, but it can take up to 20 minutes for your body, your brain, and your stomach to communicate that it's actually full. So that is a good thing for us to understand is, I mean, just think about how quickly you might eat, right? How quickly you eat breakfast and lunch and dinner. And I mean, time yourself next time. Like, we're probably eating in under 10 minutes, most of us, right? Before we know it, like, you might be eating to a point of where you're too full and your body hasn't even realized it. Your body is still just trying to digest some of the food that it's in its stomach and start the process. So I also learned on the Zoe Science and Nutrition podcast, and this is a study that Zoe did, was eating faster takes in more energy, on average 120 calories more per day. And then another trial showed that slowing down your eating rate by 20% can actually reduce your calorie intake by 15%. Now, there weren't any definitive studies on how eating more slowly can help with fat loss or weight loss, but they did go on to share that there are links between eating rate and things like obesity, eating rate and larger waist circumference, which we know having more abdominal weight around your midsection, especially visceral fat, which is inside and can surround the organs, can put you at risk for things like heart disease, diabetes, and stroke. And so there is a link between eating rate and the impact that can have on your health and any metabolic issues that you may experience. So if you didn't need any other reason to slow down your eating rate, health is definitely at the forefront. And so the reason I like to encourage our clients at Laura Cavallo Coaching to slow down how fast they're eating is because it does a few things, right? So the first is it just makes you more aware and observant of how food makes you feel. And if you've been following Satisfull Plates, you know that part 4 of Satisfull Plates is observe, right? How is this meal making you feel? Are you full? Are you tired? Are you moody? Are you stressed? Are you anxious? Are you even hungry? Right? And oftentimes the observe part comes sort of after the meal, but as you become more aware and observant of how meals make you feel after, I find that clients tend to be more present when they are eating, which can help them eat more slowly and actually ask themselves, am I enjoying this? Is this food actually tasting good to me? Is this something that I actually want? So eating slower can increase your observation and connect you more to your meal. And another interesting thing I heard in the Zoe podcast was that our eating rates, or how slowly people eat, was actually a learned practice from their parents or the people that they were around as kids. And I know for me personally, one eating habit that had really negative impact on me growing up was overeating, right? It wasn't so much eating fast, but it was eating until overly full. And that is something I definitely learned from my family. So that would make sense. And maybe you can think back on some patterns and things that you learned as kids and see if maybe they are still impacting you now. And that's just an aside. So how can we slow down our eating? How can we slow down the rate at which we eat our meals? The first way that you can do that is to avoid eating distracted, meaning you're not on your phone, you're not watching TV, you aren't sitting in front of your computer working and multitasking. You're literally sitting down and deciding that you are going to be focused on eating that meal in front of you. And that can help you, again, be more connected to your hunger and cravings cues throughout the meal, how that meal is tasting, and just help you slow down a bit. Another strategy that they actually talked about in the Zoe podcast, I don't bring this up too often because I find that it's really hard for people. So I kind of just like to talk about the lowest hanging fruit and what feels most attainable for people, is putting your fork down in between bites, as well as chewing your food up to 30 times. Now, that can take you a long time to finish a meal, right? It could be a little bit more tedious, but these are definitely two things that you can try and practice and see if they work for you. So you would take a bite, put your fork down, finish chewing that bite, pick up your fork, take another bite, put your fork down, and then finish chewing that bite. Alternatively, you can also count, 30 bites per chew or 30 chews per bite. And that can also help create more saliva, which will signal to your stomach to get ready for more food, which can in turn help your body start to signal that fullness faster and quicker, because it's a whole process that works together. I've also seen recommendations where you can eat with your opposite hand. So if you're a righty and you usually eat with your right hand, using your left hand to eat. And again, that's going to be a little bit challenging, but you will probably eat slower because you're trying to figure out the mechanics of it. So those are 3 little quick strategies. Again, I don't always recommend those because I just find that they do get tedious and it's like too much to think about for clients. But if they work for you, then I definitely want you to try them and give them a go. A third strategy is to avoid waiting to eat until you're overly hungry. So I see this so often in women that start working with me is they have a small breakfast, a little lunch, and then by the time 3 or 4 comes around, they're starving. And first, they don't take the time to build a Satisfull plate, right? They're just eating anything in sight. And then they eat really rapidly because they're just so hungry. They cannot control themselves or even be mindful of slowing down that eating rate. So a good way to avoid eating until you're overly hungry is starting your day with a Satisfull meal within 2 hours of waking. And that's something that if you join the Cravings Cleanup Challenge, that I will teach you and guide you and support you in doing, and making sure that you are having your 3 filling meals per day versus waiting to eat most of your calories maybe in the later part of the day or for around one particular meal. Another way that you can slow down your rate of eating is to focus on having more lean and detox foods on your plate. Lean and detox foods are those first 2 elements of creating a Satisfull plate, which include lean, which is a protein-forward food, and detox, which is a fruit or vegetable. And by having these nutrient-dense foods on your plate, these filling, fiber, and water-rich foods on your plate, most people have a tendency to eat these a little bit slower. They're not as palatable. They're not as cravey. They're not as quote unquote delicious, right? As say a slice of pizza or a piece of cake. Things like chicken and pork and beef and tofu paired with veggies and fruits. These are going to be more satiating. They're going to keep you more full for the least amount of calories. And people tend to eat these a bit slower, again, because they're just not as palatable and high fat, high sugar, high carb, high starch. These 2 parts, lean and detox, are the basis for Satisfull plates. And so by including Satisfull plates in your diet, you can, as a byproduct, start slowing down your rate of eating just by having some of these lean and detox elements on your plate. So those are some tips and strategies for how to slow down your eating. If you are interested in checking out that podcast, I will link it below. Go ahead and check it out. I'd love to know if slowing down your eating is something that you feel like you could be better at. And I'd love to know maybe one of these strategies that you're going to start applying. Are you going to try and eat a little bit less distracted, not in front of the TV, not scrolling on your phone? Are you going to try switching it up, switching hands and eating with your left hand? Are you going to prioritize eating Satisfull breakfast and Satisfull lunch so that you're not waiting till the nighttime when you're starving to eat? I would love to hear your take on this and what you're going to start practicing, if anything. You can send me a message down below on Instagram, and I can't wait to connect. Talk to you soon.